Hello, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Captain's Academy. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Assault Frigate Retribution. Retribution is a mid-game warship designed to propel the player to in-game content once fully upgraded. While only having a modest shield suite, Retribution makes up for that in offensive firepower projection, able to project up to 60 forward-facing turrets, in addition to 20 mounted weapons. Players familiar with the Adjudicator will feel at home with this, with its upgrade path and modability in the nose, from armor to additional thrusters to additional farm plots. There's a lot to be had with the modability of the Retribution. Let's go ahead and start looking at some of the device layouts, starting with CPU. Retribution features a CPU house located in the back of the ship, so as with the Adjudicator, you want to keep the front towards the enemy. This will provide your best chance of survivability, or at least preserving the most valuable content. So we'll be spawning in at a core 8. So what we want to do is drop in our last advance for reforging players. So that's going to be this placement here. Just remove the A, and that is done. Now it does feature a core placement option for up to 46 additional CPU. I guess for some servers that will be a thing. Okay, that's the wrong core. All right, here we go. All right. Now, there should be plenty of space here for anybody playing on Anvil server to fulfill a 30 core suite. So that should take care of all of that there. That will put us at CPU 4.1. Now, that's our CPU address. Let's go ahead and take a look at thruster placement. So we have a couple options here. It's going to be spawning in a little bit sluggish, but what we can do is one of the characteristics in comparison to the Adjudicators is going to have a little bit more response in the strafe. So let's go ahead and take a look at that, starting with our advanced thrusters here. So what you want to be looking for, just the faux thrusters here. You're going to remove the glowies. That's going to be your starting points. That'll be your placement there for that. Same thing here. Okay, so that should take care of the big boys as far as forward thrust. Now we do have an option if you want to slot in some medium thrusters, just for a little bit more supplemental. That would do you there. Okay, starting with our strafe, these are going to be drive thrusters. So we're not going to worry about this little bit here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start subtracting on that block. Again with the glowies. So now we want to take care of this half block here on the roof, or the ceiling rather. Okay, that takes care of one placements. Same thing. So we should have one layer bordering. This is going to be your break point. You want to go past. You don't want to go past that. Okay, so that would be your strafe. There's not much going on up on the front of the ship, so a lot of the enemy fire is going to be soaked up in areas. Now, I do have a couple supplemental / decoy thrusters right here. That'll provide a little bit of draw. The other bit here is going to be the forward lift thrust. So before we get to that, let's go ahead and look at our reverse thrust. much more presentable. Cover up these issues here. Now this is going to be an advanced drive, so let's go ahead and slot that one in. I'll probably want to go for the whole box here as well. Now, these boxes you're looking at here, that's just mainly more for deco. I suppose you could use them for some rubbish, maybe alien teeth or something to that effect. So get rid of the signals there for a second so it stops annoying me. Okay, so that would conclude your reverse thrust. Now, as far as lift, now we have a couple options on the front. We're going to cover that here in a second and just make sure we have everything. Okay, yeah, so that should address all of the thrust. So moving forward to the ship, we have a couple options for modability. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at this forward compartment. This is going to be the auxiliary room. Depleting gravity, so the gravity generator does not stretch all the way to the front of that, so keep that in mind. People who are adamant about having some gravity going towards the full array of the ship, you could just drop one right here or something. If you don't want to put like a constructor there or something, you just slot that in. Okay, so what we're looking at here is we got a couple options. So with the forward auxiliary room, we have three things we got going on. So we could go for additional armoring. We could go for additional grow plots, or we could do a supplemental lift thrust. That's going to be here. This is the T. Or I suppose we could do a mixture of all of that. So let's look at a couple configurations here. First, starting with the thruster. So just take note, we want to start removing these curved blocks here. There's symmetry playing back on to make it a lot easier. Okay, so the plus here, this is marking where the grow plots would go if you intend on using this whole forward section as additional grow plots. That's not what we're going to be doing right now. We're going to be putting in a thruster. So we're just going to keep removing blocks. Now, once we get to the X, that's going to be our breakpoint. We're not going past that. Okay. So that is that. Now we have our drive thruster placed. Great. Okay, so that leaves a couple options here for the front. Now, so we're not going to be able to use this farm here. We could use a partial farm. Just you'd have to keep in mind you want to keep a block gap between this forward thruster. So that would at least give us one grow plot. So let's just take a look at that. Oops. So we actually don't want to go under there. That's my bad. So presuming that we want to have a partial grow plot here, we'd just do like that. Go ahead and get our hydroponics lamp. Okay, so that is that. We'd probably want to mix it up here a little bit, maybe put in some armor at the front. So again, we'd want to get rid of that there. We don't need that light. So that's part of the armoring process there. For this forward section here, we would just get rid of these doubles. You could go full block all the way. You don't need any of this stuff. If you're more worried about like fighting some progenitor enemies or enemies that just chew through shields and stuff like that, just get rid of all this stuff, right? You don't need lights. It's partial blocks here. You can get rid of that. So if you wanted to, you just go ahead and just straight combat out this whole thing. If you're not in the farms, just fill that thing up. Maybe you want to sprinkle in a generator here or there. So you want to get rid of all this. You're not farming. You're just going to get rid of these lights. Yeah, maybe throw in a generator or two sprinkled in here or there. So you get rid of the LCD if you want to. Maybe this additional light. Oop. Get rid of the thruster. Sometimes the things are hard to remove, these lights. Okay. That's just we kind of get where that's going. Right, so that'll give us a good bit of layering on the front. Makes it a pretty belligerent nose. So you could go Xeno if you just want to be a little lighter on that. Yeah, a couple options there. Farms, between farms, additional thruster, and armoring. Yeah, so okay, so that's the nose. So let's take a look at, so we got thrusters covered. Let's go ahead and take a look at our weapon placement. Quite a few options here as well. All right, so first off, we're going to take a look at the mounted weapons. And our placement's going to be, first of all, we've got the antennas. That's going to be an easy get. Let's say we would want to do lasers or something there. Right, that's easy. So we got an option here. Now we could go mounted weapon, or that could be an artillery suite. So we'll come back to that. But right now, let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got going on with these antenna placeholders. So we're going to get rid of these. Now what we've got to do is clear out the lanes of these thin blocks. Hey, level 3 reached. Congratulations. It's happening live. All right, there we go. So it looks like we got a misplaced here. Oops. Okay, let's see. It just wasn't going all the way. Could be a ghost block. Yeah, that's a ghost block back there. We have to get rid of that. Yeah, so it should have a nice array there going all the way across. So that would be 10. Okay, so that would conclude your weapon suite, with the exception of this option. So we could we could either go with mounted weapons here, or again, we could go with artillery. So let's go ahead and take a look at our mounted weapon layout. Okay, so that would look something like that. Now, if we wanted to, rather than doing additional mounted weapons, we would just go ahead and transition this over to a artillery placement. I think I took out an extra block there on accident. Okay, so that opens that up. So that's one. Now, here at this center point, we could go for an additional artillery placement. And so what that would do is it's going to leave us in a position where we could place the turret here. Okay. This could be point defense. It's not really going to have a line of sight over that artillery. All right, so when we're loading up the surface here, what we want to look for is this texture here, the cabinet looking texture. This is generally going to be the indicator for where you want to place turrets. So there's a placement. Some of them are encased with the or have an inset with the round block there and the little encasement of the square there. So keep an eye out for that. So either could be that block or just straight up on the just open surface. So just looking out for that texture as we go. Yeah, easy enough. So now we don't have anything marked here. So should be pretty self-explanatory though. All right, so that is that. Now we should have a couple more options here. Actually, it is going to be, I'm going to change that texture. This will be cleaned up for the time it goes to the workshop. There should be additional placements. So that would be the top, if I'm not mistaken. We don't have any more right there. All right. Let's just double check. So yeah, we do have an option here if we don't want to go for the artillery there at the midpoint. We just could go for 3 turret placement. Like there would be 2 right there, and just wherever you place it at the center point. It could be right there, or somewhere else, maybe a little more forward. So that's an option. All right. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the bottom of the ship. In fact, let's go ahead and flip this thing. All right. So there's going to be some easy tells right here. Oh, that's interesting. What? All right. Let's pretend that's working. I don't know what to say about that. Yeah, let's pretend that didn't happen. Okay, so there's our placements. Another one here. Here we go, another round. Now this could be an optional artillery placement, right? So let's see how that looks here. We'll get back to that in a second. So another thing is if you didn't use this as a thruster placement, there is an additional turret placement that'd be sitting right there like that. Okay, so let's presume that we don't want to go for just a regular turret like that. So yeah, so now we've got a artillery placement. Big cannon. All right, so now what we're looking at here, so we have a couple options. Now we could coat these with additional turrets. There'll probably be line of sight issues with these back turrets, so what we want to do is, maybe that could be good for point defense, or maybe for like a ground POI attack. That's the thing. Now, if we don't want to do that, what we can do is, so for reforged players, if you're going to be looking for some solar placement, let's start going over that. So, and this should pretty much be your turret and weapon suites. Should be everything here with the exception of these. Right. So now what we want to look at is we start going fishing for some solar panel placement. We've got the potential to get all 48. So a lot of it, what we're going to be looking for is some of the darker textures here, with the exception of this bit. This is just deco, but like this bit here, this will be a solar placement. So what we do is we just take out these little thin blocks. So also, by the way, it would be good to, when you're putting in these drive thrusters, just to go for the full block. So it should provide a little better aesthetic. Okay, just continuing to get rid of these single thin blocks. Okay, so that's some placement there. Back of the ship, I'll be removing some additional thin blocks. That's going to get rid, or that's going to open up some more small solar placement. So another thing we're looking for here is this sector here. So we want to get rid of this guy. And here we go. that's a placement. And that's a placement. So what the brake lines are going to be are the pipes leading up to this little ramp there. Okay. So continuing on. Now this is going to be a small placement as well. Okay, here's 2. That's an easy get. You don't have to remove anything. Right there. I believe that should cover our small. Okay, so now I'm going to start looking at the large placements. So this is going to be maybe a little bit hairy for some people. So once we're done putting in, I'll just do a pass over so you can get a good look at what's going on with the placement. You know, maybe you'll want to pause it or something. So a lot of tells you're just looking for here is just a thin blocks, either single or double thins. You would want to look for like this darker texture as a base. That's kind of indicative of where the solar placement's going to be. Okay. Missed a few. Alright, so continuing on, we've still got quite a bit. There's 48 of them. Now, in some instances, you're going to see like holes underneath it. That's fine. So these are just like LCD placement. That's going to be okay. You don't need to worry about that. So one of the things I'm looking forward to with RG2 is not having to fill out 48 solar. Just having the turbines is going to be nice. Okay, so that's most of them. So here at the back, it's kind of looking, what you're going to be looking for is this pattern. Okay, just take note of this. This is the tell for some of the larger solar, just kind of design right here. It's kind of ubiquitous. Is that the right word? Ubiquitous. Okay. All right. So I do believe that's it for most of them. Now our sneaky little placement is going to be right at the hangar door. So let's look at this. All right. So just as you exit the hangar, let's see if we can get a smaller block in here so it'll be easier to see. Right. Okay. So this is your hangar exit door, and immediately as you get out, you're going to be looking at thin blocks. So you want to get rid of this thin, and this is going to be your stopping point, the little light texture. That's going to be your last piece that you get. So it should be 5 wide. So take that. And then we're going to end right here at these gray blocks. So this should be the last of the large solar for the bottom of the ship. Okay, so let's just do a little pass so you can get a good look at some of this placement here. Now, so that's just like the standard. Now, this is not going to get you to your full 48. So what you're going to have to do is you got a couple options here. So either you can leave this as turret placement, these forward 4 sections, or you can start cannibalizing that to round out the rest of your solar placement. So you go ahead and take care of that turret mound placement and get rid of that. So that's going to be solar placement there. Okay, so here, I guess you could go either or on that. Actually, you're gonna have to take take this thin out as well. Okay, so that would be your optional solar placement there. You're going to want to leave these last two. These are non-negotiable. These need to stay, because then you're going to be, if you remove these, you're going to be punching into the hole, causing air leaks, and you don't want to do that. Alright, so that would be for the large. That would be all of the large bottom placement. Now you do have a couple options if you want to go ahead and 48 out total. So let's say you don't want to use these turret placements here. Rather, you'd want to just convert those over to some of the smaller ones. So that should help fulfill, yeah. Okay, so that's all of your small ones completed there. So that way you've got these guys here. These are contributing to forward fire. And these guys, you're not going to have to worry about their fire being obstructed, since you've cannibalized that and used it for solar. Okay, so that's all of your solar replacement for the bombs. Just take note of that. Pretty extensive. Okay. Now, top, there's only a few on the top. So it should be pretty easy here. Alrighty, so now we're looking at just where these markings are. Just going to go ahead and do these thin blocks. Now, I like to use this first one here because the solar panel is laying upside down, and the bottom of the solar panel looks consistent with the flow of the build, and as well as the coloring, so that it looks more natural, right? It's just a personal preference, though. Feel free to lay it down however you want. Okay. Now, so that should be pretty much everything except two. Now, in order to fulfill your last two, what you're going to be looking at is jacking the landing pad. If you want to, you don't have to do this, but, you know, if you're all about getting that 48, there it is. That's 48. Okay, so that concludes solar. Pretty extensive. I think I've had smaller or shorter sessions of Captain's Academy just for the time that was put in the solar. Alright, so weapons, solar, CPU, thrusters. So next thing we're going to be looking at is some of the components on the inside. Let's go ahead and start with our production area. So we're going to be spawning in with one advanced constructor as well as two small constructors. So we got a few options here. I mean, maybe for some of y'all that's fine, but if you need it, then you're just going to go ahead and take these guys out. Now, what you want to do for a ceiling mount is you want to go ahead and get rid of those blocks. Okay, and that would fulfill that. Again, over here on this opposite side, just take note, you want to get rid of that, and then these bars here. Okay, pretty easy. So that would be another vertical mount. And that's that. So you could use any configuration, and you know, maybe you want 3 constructors, 1 deconstructor, you know, whatever you want to do, that's up to you. Alright, so now we're going to take a look at our power options. So here we have placement for advanced generators. Okay, that fulfills that, right? So that'll give you 4. Now for Reforged players, once you get to it, you get that fusion reactor. You do have placement for that. It'll be right here. That'll be your placement. So let's say that's all of the power generation you need. So now you could, if you wanted to, you could remove that. And I guess also that would extend for vanilla players. Maybe you don't need all those generators, maybe you just need 2. So what you could then do is repurpose this section for storage. So keep that in mind. Okay, now that'll be our power generation. So what we're going to look at. Go ahead and get these down. Can't hear that. Fusion reactor. Not right now. Okay, so right. So now we want to look at our shield placement. Now we should be able to 8 out, get all 8 on the small size ones as well as the medium size ones. So what we're going to be looking for here is we're just going to turn these sideways. So you're going to be looking for shield bank. All of the shield banks are going to be for the small ones. So let's see here. As you transition into engineering, you're going to be looking for these guys on either side of this center section. Shield banks. Okay, same thing here is we want to do the sideways mounts. Okay. Okay, easy peasy. So, all right, same thing. Now, what we're going to be looking at here is for the medium-sized ones, we're going to be looking for shield house. So, say for example, this is shield house 8. This is going to be our placement. Same thing here for 6. And it's going to be mirrored on the opposite side. Now, the engineering bays, these are going to house 2 of the shields. Let's make sure to get this rotation right. Okay, so 1 on either side. There you go. And there's that. Simple enough. These are all armored up, so they mitigate. There's no chain reaction. Now, so that's that for 4 of them. And as we mentioned before, we're going to be looking at a vertical mount, so these are going to have to be laid down. Actually, it's just this one that's laid down, right? No, I'm wrong. It's got to be standing up. I think I built this ship. I'm not sure. All right. Okay, so this is a placement there. All right, that's the one at the edge. This one does need to be rotated on its side. So, well, we had this flush facing the length of the build. Now we're going to turn this sideways. Okay, you see that? So, 2 blocks width running the spine. And the one on the end, that's going to be rotated. Okay, so that would be it for the small and medium-sized shield arrays. Or shield components. Now, so we just have placement for the 2, for the big ones. So it should give us a decent amount. Now we could supplement that once we get like a bastion or a regenerative. That'll help out. So we have two potential ways to place these. If you know you're getting a little bit of guff here on the bottom, what you could do is you try and place it from the top. So that might be easier for you. Okay. Now, also, sometimes when you're placing these bigger shields, you'll get it a little bit easier kickback by just rotating it. So where maybe before it wouldn't place, if you just rotated like 180 degrees, that would help you out. Okay, so that would conclude our shields. Now, we do have a grow plot section that is innate. It's not just a feature of the nose of the ship. So our hydroponics bays are going to be located about mid of the ship. So here we are. Here we have a 18 grow plot option. Okay, simple enough. So one on either side, and that would take care of that. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at our repair bay option. Repair bay is going to be the middle of the ship in the hangar. That's going to be this plus. We marked that with that, so we would just take that out, and that would be our placement there. And just wherever you feel like placing a console. Maybe you want to go for something like that. That would be fine. Okay, so now what we're going to look at are some of the other features present with the build. So now we do have a couple color options. We have the Imperial color scheme, and if we wanted to emulate some sort of Rebel Alliance hostile takeover. What we could do is you go to the bridge here. We have a couple color option schemes. We have Republic, and then we have our stock Imperial color scheme. So if we wanted to do a change here, what we're going to do is we're going to copy this numerical value. Control C. And we're going to take out our paint gun. And we're going to right click. We're going to bring up configure. And at the top left there, we're going to left click. And while holding the shift button, go all the way down here to this bottom right and hit left click again. Paste. And then we hit OK. So now what we're left with is a Rebel Alliance red color pattern. A little bit of striping here. And if we want to fulfill the faction change switch, then all we need to do is go to the P menu. Turn off that Imperial logo. First of all, we need to turn on signals. Okay, then Imperial logo goes off, and there we go. Now we have a Rebel logo. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess that concludes the Retribution, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah, a lot, for those familiar with Adjudicator, you're going to get the most success out of the build by keeping the nose towards the enemy. All of your valuable stuff is going to stack up towards the back, your CPU and things like that. It's going to be protected in a multi-layered core of Xeno or combat steel. Yeah, just keep that in mind. Keep your front towards the enemy. If you intend on going against opponents that are maybe a little more aggressive towards your hull, maybe they go through your shields, you probably want to go ahead and beef up that nose with armor and some additional decoys. So one last thing is, let's go ahead and take a look at our teleporter placement. Now that's something that's always asked about, so I figured I had to set aside a position for teleporters. So if we go to the bridge, this is going to be in the back corner, so we're looking at the turbo lift, and that's going to be this one here. Just look for your sensor, and we're just going to go ahead and get rid of that. So now we have our teleporter placement, and what we want to do is we're going to hit P, signal logic, and we're going to go all the way down to teleport. So now that's already set up to where when you step on it, only when you step on it, it's going to consume power. Yeah. All right, that is it, folks. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. The Assault Frigate Retribution coming to a workshop near you. Until next time, LyfeForce out. Hello, folks. If you enjoy my content, if you enjoy my builds, please consider becoming a patron today. As a patron, you get access to custom builds of release works, early access to some builds before they hit the workshop, exclusive builds. You also gain access to direct feedback and engagement through polls, idea suggestions regarding builds before and after workshop release. If this interests you, please check out the pinned comment below. Thank you.